All right, so today we're going to talk about what is communication. No, that's not right. We're going to talk about communication and how can it affect your marriage and parenting styles. No, it's still not right. All right, if you can't tell right now, I'm picking up very poorly on some nonverbal communication from my wife. We're going to figure this thing out. We want to make sure the sound is the audio is working well. We said a little prayer, and it seems to be operating pretty clearly. So I'm looking around, and I think we're ready to get started.
Communication is a two-way street. You have to stop to listen.
You heard it here. Two-way street. Don't drive the wrong way.
Today we thought we'd share a little nugget of wisdom on communication, since I keep seeing things in my timeline. I don't know about you and your timeline. Everyone's fighting over political things, and I don't know. I don't feel like
What are you talking about? I'm sorry, you said in your timeline. I know we're talking about communication today. By the way, I'm Stephen Hayes. This is my wife, Lauren Hayes. Today we're going to be talking to you about communication. And she just said something about a timeline, and there's our first breakdown of communication. I don't know what she's talking about in the timeline. Like, you mean like in a goal timeline?
No, on the Facebook timeline.
I had no idea we were even on Facebook.
You're so
okay.
old.
I had no idea. Okay. So there you go. This is communication. One person talking to another person, sharing ideas, thoughts, values, beliefs. So that just happened. That was raw. Excuse me. That was raw and uncut for y'all. This was a communication breakdown we just had, but that's why we wanted to talk about communication. Please, you were saying.
Oh, I was just saying that no one seems to listen to each other these days. I mean, maybe all the days. I don't know.
Okay.
But people, at least family and friends, have different ideas, but they don't do the listening part. It just seems to be a lot of people yelling at each other, and I thought that kind of happens too, maybe in relationships, even with kids, and just communication.
Yeah, now before we start recording, you even mentioned the divorce rate being higher.
Yeah.
So was it 50% of all marriages in divorce in the United States?
Yes.
Yeah.
50%. And one of the main causes is just, there's finances and then communication is usually.
Finances and communication. There we go. So we're going to be doing a video later on where we talk about finances and some of the tools that we found that's helped us with our finances. But since we're talking about communication, one of the other reasons for a high divorce rate here in the U.S., that's why we're doing this video. We wanted to make sure that we give you guys some of the things that have helped us in our marriage, and we're using our marriage as the model. Not that we're perfect, but it's raw, it's real. So the imperfections kind of help to show you that even in our flaws, we can learn from each other, both the things that we do well and the things that we found out that just don't work.
It's relatable, I think.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Raw and uncut.
That's it. That's why I kept using that, raw and uncut. So this is this is our time with you guys, and we hope you enjoy what we have to share with you. We talked a little about what communication is already. Kind of informal introduction to communication. It's basically just sharing things with another person. So from me to you, what we're doing right now is we're communicating with you through this video feed. So if you're watching this is communication. We're using both verbal and nonverbal. I talk with my hands, as you can see, they're going all over the place when I talk. Kind of keeps your attention, maybe.
Maybe
but
it's just Italian.
There we go. I'm South Italian,
No.
So it kind of helps you, see, there I go with my hands again. It kind of helps us just, relay a message, whether it be verbal or nonverbal, because of course those are two ways to communicate, both verbally, whether it be oral, written, do video feeds, something like this, or of course nonverbal would be the gestures you see me doing,
like your glasses.
Yeah, my glasses, that would be a nonverbal cue. The kind of clothes I'm wearing a message on my shirt, nonverbal. I'm not stating anything, but it actually says something about my beliefs and what I believe in, or what I think about. It's advertising. Yeah, my glasses.
They're kind of a barrier to communication.
They can be a barrier to communication. My wife asks me quite often, especially
Take off your glasses.
Yeah, when we have a serious conversation,
Let me see your eyes.
I need to see your eyes. Could you
See
take
into the
those
windows
glasses
of your
off?
soul.
Yeah, really. That's what I was telling her earlier. You know, the eyes are a window to the soul. So it's like, you know, by wearing the shades, typically what happens is she's like, I can't see into the windows of your soul. But it does create a barrier. And it also makes a nonverbal statement because some people may be intimidated or put off by seeing me wearing shades indoors because they don't realize that there's a reason why I wear them. So
Yeah, maybe you should tell them why you're wearing glasses.
Exactly.
Communication.
Thank you. That would be a good idea. So this is because of medical condition, I have a traumatic brain injury, a TBI. And so what happens is I've become sensitive to light. And so what happens is I tend to get frequent headaches. I do also already get migraines and things like that from previous injuries. So, I use the glasses as a filter for the light, and it actually has reduced the amount of times I get headaches and can keep some headaches from getting even more intense. So that's one of the reasons why I wear the shades indoors.
And also to get away with things, like with your cane, so people can think that you're blind.
Don't listen to that. It is possible that when people see me out in public with a cane for my back and my knees, I have a walking cane, but it is possible that when people see me with my walking cane and shades on indoors that they believe that I am blind. I'm not actually blind.
Treatment.
I don't ask for better treatment. I like to do stuff on my own.
Kidding,
But it is possible that, again, we're talking about communication, and these are a combination of some verbal. Most of the things we're talking about right now are nonverbal things that happen. The way I dress, of course, the devices like the eyewear, the cane, those things portray a message. Most of the people will look at their background and the way they learned communicating from when they were a child. So how they learn to communicate by watching others, they'll take that and say, okay, well, whenever I saw a person with a cane or a walking stick and, dark shades, they were blind. So they would assume, oh, this guy must be blind. And then they see me get behind the driver's side part of a car and start driving away.
You get a little bit frightened. It's a little bit scary.
And either they're scared or they think the whole thing's a sham. He's faking the whole thing. He's just trying to get some sympathy. He's just trying to get a discount.
Let's focus.
I thought we were focused. We're communicating. That's what this is.
So, what do you think? Two people going back and forth. How are they having good communication? Because it seems like you're doing a lot of talking.
See, there we go. Well,
let me interject.
This is some good communication right here. So, being able to know when to stop talking so that you can listen to the other person that is talking. Active
listening. So what I hear you saying is you stop so you can listen to me.
Exactly.
That's some active listening.
So, active listening.
We learned that in, I don't know, I feel like we learned that in couples communication.
We did premarital counseling.
Yeah.
Talked about active communication. Some post-marital counseling. Talked about active communication.
12 years ago.
During my time as a chaplain assistant in the Army, we taught families and marriages. We did marriage retreats, and we taught about active listening as part of communication. So that kind of gives you some of the background where we come from. My wife has more of a psychology background for her education. So
what do you think? What would you tell them? You think is the takeaway for communicating?
So the key to communication when you're using, especially like using an active listening skill, the key is to make sure that you take turns. We're always telling the kids, make sure you take turns. You're sharing. You take turns. One way of doing that is we had a little device. There's a little magnet goes on the fridge for active listening to remind you some of the rules of having fair fighting, if you will. Fair fighting.
The speaker has a floor, and when you have the magnet or whatever, we don't really practice that very well, though.
We don't use it anymore. We don't use the magnet. I say we practice it, but we don't use the magnet.
I know.
And it's not. You're right. It's not perfect. We're not always doing it. And that's the whole purpose of the video. It's like it's not. You're not going to get perfection. Especially not out of us. We're not perfect, but we're going to share you the nuggets that we've gotten.
I think it's important to have the other person let them know that you're listening by either eye contact or the act of listening shows you're listening. But if you're doing something else, like scrolling on your phone, which I'm guilty of sometimes, instead of fully listening, then it's not fully listening.
I agree. I agree. Now, I've been guilty of it too. Either on my phone, sometimes I'm creating a song on my phone, or playing a video game, watching TV. I mean, there's things that I've been doing. Heck, trying to do something to help out around the house or on our vehicles. So,
I was gonna say another barrier could be like just a difference in cultures.
Yeah.
Like, take us for example. You thought I was gonna say white and black. Well, we are, but I was actually gonna say from the north and south.
Yeah, the cultural difference isn't just because of the skin color, okay?
Yes. Remember in Alaska when I said, let's order some pie?
Yeah, okay, so to paint the scene for you, give you a little background on this information. So my wife, like she said, she's from New York. I spent most of my time growing up into my adult years in Texas, so from the South. And we met in Alaska. So we're trying to order pizzas, a bunch of us soldiers getting together, a bunch of single soldiers, we're all getting together. We want to order some pizza because we're hungry. Now, I hear her in the background over and over as I'm trying to ask everybody what they want on their pizza.
Order a cheese pie.
She kept saying to order a cheese pie. Now, where I come from, a pie is a dessert, unless it's a pot pie. You have chicken pot pie, the beef pot pie. A pot pie, I get it. That's a savory item that you can consume, but
savory item.
That's right, consume. That's right. I'm pulling out the big words. That's right. I hope y'all paying attention. You might need a thesaurus when I'm done. Yeah. I was going to mess with him and say thesaurus.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Emphasis on the wrong. There we go.
So,
back on task. Go ahead. You going to take over the story?
I kept telling him because he wasn't listening to me. He wasn't.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, just order a cheese pie. Everyone likes that. And he was like, no, that's nasty. Who's going to order a cheese pie? And I couldn't understand why he didn't understand what I was saying, because in New York, and I'm from an Italian family, but I think all New Yorkers, you could just order a pie. It means pizza, a pizza pie. So you could just say, order a cheese pie or pepperoni pie. And he was like...
No, I'm not ordering a cheese pie. That sounds disgusting. Who in the world eats a cheese pie? Look, we're hungry. We don't want dessert yet. We want food. I'm going to order some pizza. What would you like on yours?
So sometimes I think can be a regional thing, like even in the United States, like I said, North and South, or just different countries have different ways of communicating.
Yeah, and like you said, culture. It's a cultural difference.
Like, it can be insulting to like wave your left hand at someone, like in some different countries, like Middle East,
or to show the soles of your feet. Some cultures have that as an insult. So again, we're talking those sort of the nonverbal. Differences, communication differences.
But the takeaways.
I say active listening is definitely a skill to practice and do your best at. I'm not going to say perfect because you may not perfect it, but the idea is to use it. It can be used in all relationships.
Yes. I want to say actually listening and not thinking about what you're going to say next, but listening to the person, giving them a chance. And then you could speak.
Yeah.
So,
I think if you take a few seconds to hear what the person's saying, you might actually realize either you're talking about the same thing, or basically you can realize something that you may not have realized had you been thinking about your comeback, your follow-up.
I also think a good rule for online, which might be kind of off base, I don't know, is if would not say it to the person's face, don't say it online.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes down to some personal morals, and that's something that we have. Yeah, some morals.
Everyone has their own.
If you want to say it to their face, don't put it out online.
Anyway,
everybody feels real brave when they're behind a keyboard. Not so much when that person's confronting them about what they've written online. So you can't really take that down either. Yes. It's always somewhere on somebody's hard drive or the cloud.
You're going down the rabbit trail, but. So we hope you have a great day and that you learned how to communicate something. Got a tip from this or something.
Yeah, I think I hogged all
At least you got to laugh if nothing else.
I laughed on the inside.
Oh my goodness. Bye.